What is going on, everybody? Happy Tuesday morning.
Whoop.
Tuesday. Katie, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing amazing. Did you, by chance, wake up to texts and voicemails from the Highway Patrol last night?
Yeah, 2 voicemails from the Highway Patrol. 2 different Highway Patrolmen left me voicemails asking if everything was okay and how they could assist me.
What the heck happened? Why are you getting calls? Wait, actually, what time was it?
I think the Highway Patrol calls were between 9 and 10.
Why didn't you answer those phone calls?
I was sleeping.
Why do you go to bed so early?
I don't know.
What is wrong with you? Going to bed at 9 o'clock. Don't need to answer people's phone calls. They probably just thought we were probably ignoring them. But little did they know.
I was sleeping.
And we've probably been sleeping for like at least half an hour to an hour. So you got phone calls from the Highway Patrol. What, did they leave voicemails?
They did. Each of them left me a voicemail asking what happened, if they could assist me in terms of this crash that happened.
Well, why were you driving at 9 o'clock at night? They were
sleeping.
sleeping.
I was sleeping.
Oh,
well, my car was driving elsewhere and it had been wrecked.
Who had your freaking car?
I don't know. Some nice gentleman.
Some nice gentleman. Like, did you just let him borrow your car? Like,
no, I rented it to him.
Oh, on like how
Turo.
Oh, Turo. Okay, so you rented your car out on Turo.
Yes.
Well, just out of curiosity, what kind of car is it?
It's a Cadillac Escalade.
What year?
2021.
Is it nice?
It's very nice.
Was it nice?
It was very nice. It's no longer very nice.
Okay, so you rented this car out on Turo, and then you got a call 9 o'clock at night from the Highway Patrol saying that your car was wrecked?
Yeah, that my car had been in an accident, the airbags, and I also got, so Cadillac's awesome because you get an app on your phone that like notifies you about everything. So I got 2 notifications last night from this app that said that my airbags had been deployed and that they need to be serviced. So in my head, and then I got another voicemail from the tow company it was like after midnight, so it was 12 or 12:30. So like the story that I woke up to in my head was terrifying. I got really scared and my gut sank because 3 hours between the time of an accident and the actual tow company coming seemed like it was a very long time to me. And that the only reason that it was a very long time between the time that the accident happened and the time that the tow truck came and had to tow it was because this guy had been killed potentially, or like the jaws of life had to come and save him. So I woke up in sheer panic because I was worried that this guy was not well.
Yeah. And then I woke up in sheer panic too, because I got the message from Turo, from the guy saying, hey, we had a little incident with your car. And, so the story he told me, so Keaton, like I'm in charge of the Turo app. Katie got all the notifications from Cadillac and from the officer, and so like we had like 2 different stories, right? So Katie woke up thinking this had happened. I got the message from the guy saying, hey, we're going about 10 miles an hour. The roads were super slick, and we hit a guardrail, and the airbags deployed. And there's some damage on the side, but it's relatively minor. But where should we tow it to, right? And again, this is at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. We're sleeping. And so I think they ended up towing it like 180 miles from where the accident happened. And then this morning they ended up towing back
about 100 miles,
but probably about 100 miles back. And so what was that tow bill?
It was $1,000.
$1,000 tow bill. Yeah. So that was interesting. So anyway, I was like, woke up in sheer panic. I was like, oh, Katie's going to be a little upset about this, I think. And it's funny.
So listen to this though. So I wake up and the house is quiet and the kids are still sleeping and Logan's gone because he goes to the gym every morning.
Yeah.
And usually I go to the gym after I drop our oldest off at school. But this morning I was like, it's negative 15 degrees out here too, mind you. It's freaking cold outside. We live across the street from the gym. So I am like, I got to get to the gym because I got to see if this guy's okay. Because I know that Logan has the answer. So it was a benefit because it got my butt to the gym. So I ran over to the gym. I see him. I like wave at him in the gym and he comes over and takes his earphone out. And he's like, I was like, did you get messages from the Turo guy? And he's like, yeah. Did you? I was like, no, what happened? And he reassured me that
I was confused about how you got any messages. And then obviously he told me that you got the calls from the Highway Patrolman and then from Cadillac. I was like, oh, cool.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, now I can get a good workout in. At least he's okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And so again, it was a relatively minor accident. The guy's he's fine. Besides, I'm sure he had to it was probably a big zoo for him last night. So that was probably unfortunate because we were not awake. I'm sure he just had to make a decision what to do. But yeah, so that's where we're at right now, and so we will get it fixed, right? And it's funny because we were a little like we were surprised. Obviously, it was a little shake up to our morning, but ultimately, like the thing that I don't know if you guys heard Katie just talk about, like the thing that she was the most concerned about was just the like the human being, the person in the car.
Yeah.
And the last thing she was actually concerned about was the actual freaking car, right? The Escalade. And I think that's just like shows the true value of like it shows you awareness of where true values should lie, right? And not to say that if you in that situation that if you would have like been concerned about the car and not the person, like that's not saying that you're a bad person. It's just it goes to show that you've been practicing where you put your attention and your priorities, right? And that's on human beings rather than a freaking car, right?
Yes.
And by the way, like, do you know this guy? Do you even know his name?
No, I don't.
You
But I
know.
saw his picture on Turo now, and
Yeah.
he seems like a nice looking guy.
He looks very nice looking. And so yeah, so I think that's important. Just always understand like what's important, and it's relationships, people, things they come and go, cars, houses, jewelry, materialistic things. And it's funny because when people come into our house, our personal house, they don't see a lot of things. Like we don't have a lot of things in our house, and we've been doing this over the last couple of years is basically decluttering and really just keeping life really simple and like what we like we keep the necessary things and the things that are yeah that we like, but we don't have a lot of things. And you know what, if something breaks, something goes away, is it okay? Yeah. And we definitely are showing and teaching our kids that as well, so they're not getting attached to certain things. Because guess what, how easy would it have been, Katie, for you to be really upset that your Escalade, which is supposed to come back today, by the way, so just 24 hours right before, like how upset could you have been that not only now you don't even get your car back, now it's wrecked and it could be a couple of weeks, who knows?
Yeah. Well, and the reality of this is we are actually headed out of town on a road trip on Friday morning. We were supposed to be driving this Cadillac to Butte for our daughter's state swim meet, and now we will be driving a 2007 Subaru Forester instead. But that thing is trusty, it's dependent, and it'll get us there.
Yeah, so it'll get us there. And ultimately, having a nice car like a nice Escalade, like it's a preference, rather than a necessity, right? It's nice to have, but you know what, we can still roll around that Subaru and we'll be just fine.
Been rolling around in a week and it's just been fine.
It'll be just fine.
And it starts when it's negative 15 out. So
did it start this morning?
Yeah.
Cool.
Just fired right up.
That's good. So really, I think the thing that is kind of important from this whole situation is just understanding like the value of understanding how important relationships are, experiences are, and like adding value to those rather than like externals, things like money, things like cars, things like houses, you know, like this, like those things are all replaceable, but you know what's not replaceable? It's like our relationship, our communication, how we feel about each other, and experiences, right? And so ultimately, like when it comes down to prioritizing like what you want in life, like we have been on this journey for the last couple of years, really trying to find like what matters most to us, and it definitely is experiences. And again, like everything else, they're nice to have. It's the preferences. Like, don't get me wrong, like we like to have nice things, but we don't need them. We don't need them to be happy. We don't need them to be confident in ourselves, right?
Correct.
We don't need to have a bunch of money in the bank to feel like we are worthy, right? We don't need to have nice cars to feel like, you know, like we need to keep up with the Joneses or whatever it is.
Those Joneses.
And ultimately, like they just become preferences. When they come and go, life is okay, right? Life is okay. So so that's kind of where we're at as far as the Escalade goes. But outside of that, what else happened last week? Anything else cool?
Yeah, so another incident happened with our house. Our house flooded this week as well.
Oh yeah,
we had a lot of stuff going on. No Escalade was wrecked last night. 2 nights ago, we Airbnb our basement apartment, and
we do a lot of sharing of our stuff.
We do a lot of sharing of our stuff because we like to share experiences with people.
Really
and if we are going to have these nice things that are not necessities, I'd like to share them with as many people as we can. So we Airbnb our basement, and I get a text message at it was probably 7:30 at night saying, "Hey, Katie, we just got home, and I just wanted to let you know that like water's coming down from the ceiling and the basement or the bathroom floor is flooded." So I'm like in my pajamas already, and 7:30 p.m. Yes, I'm in my pajamas. I run out to the living room and I'm like, Logan, can you run downstairs, check on the tenants? Lainey was in the bathtub at the time. So I ran back into the bathroom to check on Lainey. And little did I know she was taking a bucket of water from the bathtub, pouring it out outside of the bathtub, and flooding the basement.
Super exciting moments as a parent. I remember sitting on the couch. Yeah. What time was it on Friday night?
It was probably 7:30.
7:30 on Friday night. I was watching The Prophet. It's my second favorite show behind Shark Tank, but I've literally watched all the Shark Tanks. So The Prophet is next. I was sitting there about halfway through the episode, and Katie told me the story about how the basement was flooded. And I was just like, yeah, I'm so excited. And I was like, actually, I sat there and processed it for a second. And I was like, I wonder why, right? And then Katie then informed me that Lainey, our favorite 2-year-old.
I was like, wait, I know why. Lainey's flooding the bathroom.
And then I went into the bathroom and just looked at her like, like Lainey. Like I was like, Lainey, that's awesome, right? And so go downstairs and I help the basement tenants and I start cleaning up. They were like super, super nice. They're from Alaska. They were there to check out Montana State University. Their daughter was looking to go to school there. Super nice people. And I told them the story and they're like, well, if we find a rubber ducky, we'll let you know. And so I helped clean up all the water down there and we went back upstairs. And obviously I was a little peeved because I have an expectation behind Lainey, even though she's 2. Like I expect her to know things better than that, right? To not pour water out of the bathtub. And so I walked into the bathroom and Katie had her cleaned up. And she just looked at me and she said, Pops, I'm so sorry. I am so, so sorry. Like you could just tell like she was like
her head was a little bit hung.
Her head was down like this. And it ultimately just like my attitude just like totally changed, right? I went from like I'm going to like let her know that she's in trouble to like boom, I was like, okay, like she gets it. She knows like I don't need to do that, right? And so my response was I got down on my knee and I looked at her, I gave her a kiss, and I said, Lane, I was like, we don't need to do that anymore, right? Like we keep the water in the bathtub. And she's like, yes, Pops, definitely keep the water in the bathtub. I was like, okay. And I just gave her a kiss and I said, all right, let's go play. Let's go be happy. Right. It was like, and it happened. How long did it take?
2 seconds.
Literally probably 5 seconds, right? Like literally all that probably happened in 5 seconds. And it was great because we are not going to dwell on, we're not going to make this like a mistake, like you are bad, right? And then make her feel like she is not worthy. And we are not going to give her limiting beliefs. We're going to empower her to take responsibility.
Which she did.
Which, by the way, and this is a side note. So that was me telling this story from my point of view. What ended up happening is that Katie talked to her while I was down there cleaning up and helped her understand that like this was a big issue. And like she needed to apologize to Pops, right? She needed to make sure that like she was sorry. And then so Katie obviously facilitated that, but it allowed her the opportunity also to like play this like good guy, bad guy kind of deal. And Lainey was able to come to me with like, I'm so sorry, Pops, I'm so sorry. And then because she gave me that, because she took 100% responsibility, she took the power away from me to be mad at her. And it ultimately it made me come back to her and be like, with love. And it was a great example of just like how life works. And Katie and I had this conversation later. I was like, if every single person used that as a prime example of how to take a situation and say, my fault, I totally screwed up. Like, dude, I'm so sorry. I'm a freaking idiot. I'm so dumb. I am so dumb. Right. The person like, no. Like, calm down. Like, bro, like, it's okay. Like, it's fine. Right. And this strategy, whatever you want to call it, is called, it's called the angry boat. Right. Do you remember that?
Mm-mm.
So it's actually from Alex Hermosi, right? He actually taught me this, and somehow Lainey figured it out as a 2-year-old. But like the angriest person, like when you're the angriest person in the boat, like people aren't going to try to out angry you. They're going to want to try to calm you down. So if you can just be the maddest person, be the angriest person, and like if you do it by taking responsibility, like, I'm so dumb, I'm so silly, like no, like calm down, like it's okay, like trust me, bro, like we'll figure this out together, right? Then all of a sudden they go from being mad to trying to pull you back from being mad, and what it ends up doing is making them like get you on the same page. And so I think it's such a powerful strategy. And again, it doesn't be so dramatic, but when you don't take responsibility, when you try to play it off like, you know what,
Try to
Pops,
blame something
you
else.
try to blame, you try to blame.
I didn't know any better.
That's when exactly. I didn't know better. Like, you never told me I shouldn't take the bucket of water and pour it on the floor. Like, have you ever had that conversation?
With you, yes. I didn't know any better.
Yeah, I didn't know any better, right? And so you can definitely fight that. You can try to blame, but what happens when you blame? Yeah, all of a sudden the person was like, "Oh no, this person doesn't get it. They don't understand," right? And it comes this like
head to head
battle
instead of being on the same team.
And man, it was like one of those moments. I was like, "This was the best thing that's ever happened. I love this."
It was great because I am completely guilty of not taking ownership lately in a few instances, and it was eye-opening that this whole entire thing just like unfolded before my eyes between a 2-year-old and my husband. I was just like, wow, I can learn so much from Lainey just being like, you know what? It's my fault. I'm sorry. And then we had a great night after that. Like we joked about it. So I think just being able to take 100% responsibility at no matter age is the best way to approach anything. Because it's the only thing that you can truly control at the end of the day is yourself. So if you're going to try to blame somebody else, you actually give them the power to dictate however this outcome is going to come out.
Yeah.
Whereas if you take 100% ownership, the only thing that you can change is truly yourself. So you at least maintain your own control.
Yeah. And using that skill set, we go back to our first example, talking about the Escalade. Like, we could have blamed this guy.
Damn him!
He could have been the bad guy, right? But instead, we decided to keep control. We decided to like take 100% responsibility for us. Like, we decided to rent our car out. We are the ones who put ourselves in a situation where we were at risk.
Yeah.
Right. So we will take that risk, and you know what? We will communicate with him in a way like, "Hey, bro, like, I get it, man," and then we'll work it out and we'll figure out solution together. Because we're not gonna be like, "Dude, you just wrecked our $100,000 car. Like, what's wrong with you?" Right? Like, how much resistance would be on that? Where it's like, "Hey, I totally get it, man. Like, I get it. Like, you didn't like." Do you think he did it intentionally? Do you think he's like, "Man, I really want to like mess up my night, and I really want to mess up these guys' the next couple days, the next couple weeks by wrecking their car"?
No, it was not intentional.
And so, I'm a huge believer in looking at people's intentions, and I'm a believer that everybody has really good intentions. I truly believe it. Even with people who might come off as negative and might come off aggressive. Here's a great example. Let's go back to this morning at the gym, right? So back to the morning gym. So it gets better. And so I was at the gym and I'm doing on my last superset of the morning. Okay. It's like 6:45 in the morning. There's 2 cable machines and I'm doing my curls. So you can see my arms right there. You can see my arms. Like,
all right. Get on.
I'm all pumped up. I'm doing curls on one side of the cable machine and there's a separate cable machine. Like literally they're like you can almost like reach your hands out and touch them. And I'm doing tricep kickbacks on them. Okay. And I'm literally just going back and forth. And I'm doing 7 sets. Okay. And so I'm doing my curls, and I have my little notebook that I write in all my weights on the one I'm not on. And then I have like my phone and my shaker bottle. Basically, I'm just like saying like, I'm claiming my territory. Right. And so I'm doing my curls. All of a sudden this kid, he comes over and he like literally not only does he take the machine, which is like, that's fine. Like, I understand that sometimes happens, but he takes my notepad and he literally throws it down next to me. I was like, bro, I was using that. And he starts literally just cursing at me, like legitimately cursing at me. And he's like, "I'm tired of freaking guys like you, taking up the whole gym, all these machines." And then he goes like this. He's like, "You want to go outside? You want to get tough?" And I was just like, "Oh my gosh, like this is crazy," right? Starts cursing at me, like, "Get off the juice, get off the steroids," calling me a psycho, all these things, calling me an a-hole. I'm just like, wow, it was insane, right? And so my reaction was to like take him outside. Like Kitty saw him.
He was like the same size, but not nearly as jacked as you.
No, he was super teeny.
He was not super teeny. He was same height as you.
Yeah, same height. Yeah, yes, exactly.
He was just
scrawny. So my reaction was like, dude, I'm gonna pile drive this guy. Like, but then I was like, okay, like that's my ego getting in the way. That's my ego trying to get defensive and literally to let this guy change my attitude in my workout in my morning. Like I was having a great workout.
Giving him power.
I was like, in that moment, I was like, no, right? I just let it go. And Katie didn't even know what was going on, but she was like, she noticed something different because I had one earphone out, right? And while I was like trying to talk to this guy, I kept one earphone out and put it back in. And so Kitty had no idea that this was always going on until we got home. And then I told her, and she's like,
I thought they were just talking.
Yeah. So anyway, I'll just go back to 100% responsibility. It's like, yeah, like, dude, I totally, I guess I shouldn't have had two things going on at the same time. Like, and I offered to work in. I was like, hey, like we're working together. He's like, no. I was like, okay. And so, but it was me that's been like, fine. I'm not going to argue with this kid. Like, I do not really care. Oh, and the other thing he said is like, I know people here. I can get you kicked out or something like that. He's like, I was like, I know more people than you do here. I was like, whatever. Oh, it's fine. Which is ironic.
Because we get paid to work out there right now.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh, that's funny.
That's funny. Anyway, so with a long story short, it's like taking 100% responsibility. It shows up like when you're able to practice that skill and it shows up in one area of your life, like where else does it show up?
Everywhere.
And everywhere.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so valuable to like have these situations with Lainey. And like we have these conversations all the freaking time, at least a couple times a week. And the reason why I know they're so important is because how you do one thing,
that's how you do everything.
That's how you do everything.
All things.
And so, yeah, so it's just important. That's what I say.
Then we had a third instance happen last week. Yeah.
Tell me about that. What happened to your face?
So my face got cut off. I went in and had a...
It doesn't look bad right now.
So if I take my glasses off, you can totally tell.
Lean in a little
bit. I'll spare you all.
Yeah.
If you all want to see it, just go to my Instagram. You'll see it.
Go to Kitty's Instagram if you want to see it. She has some pictures on there. I'll drop her thing in the...
So I had a little spot on my eye that like kept sloughing off and then scabbing and then healing and then sloughing off and scabbing and healing. And it probably did it like 4 times before I actually went and had it looked at. I went and had it biopsied and looked at, and it came back as basal cell carcinoma. So not an aggressive form of skin cancer, but nonetheless skin cancer. So I went in for surgery last Friday, and they take this little tiny slice out, and they're like, all right, we're going to go test it in the lab. You know, if the margins come back negative, we can sew you up and send you home. And the surgeon comes back into the room and says, looks like we have a positive margin. So there's still cancerous cells on your face. So we need to cut a little bit more. And I was like, dang, okay. So they cut a little bit more. And she's like, I'm pretty confident that I got it all this time. And she goes back and tests it in the lab, looks at it under the microscope. And then she comes back roughly an hour later and was like, shoot, we got to get more. And she's like, we're to the point where we might actually have to graft skin to put you back together. She's like, but the good news is there's an eyelid doctor here. If we get into your eyelid, he can come back and repair your eyelid. And I was just like, shit. Okay, well, I mean, what am I to do at this point? So they take all of it out. I get a negative margin. So there's no more skin cancer on my face. They sewed me back up. They did not have to graft it, but my eyelid is a little bit pulled. So hopefully it heals and relaxes long term. But at the end of the appointment, the doctor came in and was like, you know, you're pretty young to have this happen. So
how old are you?
33.
You're so old. And
she said, you're pretty young to have this happen. So the likelihood of it happening again is pretty high. So you need to get your skin checked every 6 months from here on out. And I was like, okay. And she said, but I just want to thank you for being as great of a patient as you were, because most 33-year-old women come in here and they're freaking out. Their face is getting cut off. They're crying. They're like having, you know, some serious issues. And she's like, you've just been great to work on. And like, I look really jacked up when I leave. Like I was swollen. I sent a picture to Logan and he was like, this wasn't real until you sent that picture to me.
Because I was there in the morning, like we went in together and I was there for probably like an hour. And then after they cut you open the first time, there was like, how long did it take in between?
It was like an hour.
Yeah. And so it was like an hour between until they come back in again. And so I went and ran some errands, did some work that day. And I probably didn't see you for 4 or 5 hours at that point. And of course I was there the whole time, you know, like before, like understanding how the whole process worked. It was pretty casual. And then the moment that she sent me the picture of her face, I was just like, like, it was just like one of those moments, like then it became real. Like, yeah, like, it's just like the surgery and the eye and the swollenness. yeah, it just became like it became like a real thing at that moment. So yeah, just super grateful that
It just goes back
the
to
cancerous piece is totally gone. And then
yeah, it just goes back to like the important things in life.
Yeah.
And sharing experiences. Like, it's okay if I have a giant scar on my face from all the decisions that I made as a child to tan in the tanning bed.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I would rather look a little funky and still be able to experience life than not treat it and
Yeah.
heaven forbid have, die from it one day. But yeah, so we've had quite the week. We've had 3 things happen and they always happen in threes. So hopefully
hopefully we get more. Hopefully we get 3 more things.
And not for another week.
Then we have more stories to tell.
Yeah, that's true.
they make for good stories. A boring life leads for boring stories. So yeah, it's been a very adventurous week for sure. And again, like it's so like it goes back to the core value that we have. It's part of our businesses, it's part of our personal life. It's taking 100% responsibility. And even just like you said right there, like there's lots of people you could have blamed for you being in a tanning bed. Right? Like it could have been, but there's no blaming, right? It's just like, you know what? I did it. I was the person who sat in the tanning bed. I was the one who did the thing. And now we deal with where we're at, right? And we handle it and we take care of it. And that's just how life is. And like that's why like it's so important. It's so important. So like how you do one thing, how you do everything. Because like how you did the cancer is how we did the Escalade, is to how we did the flooding of the basement. It's going to be to how we do the next thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and imagine living life when you let those things control your state.
Yeah.
Like, holy moly, how stressed out would we be? I would be like on my deathbed of stress.
Lots of people are stressed out. And like in all fairness, like we used to be stressed out. We used to care about those things too. Because it's just like one more thing that you give power to and it distracts you from you living your life and you being able to focus on things that freaking matter.
Yeah.
Right?
Control what you can.
Control your attitude. Right. That's what you and control, right? Back to the word control. Influence what you can, right? Because control is very binary. It's like you can't control, you can't control.
That's true.
Right. And so that's why I don't like to use the word influence or the word control anymore. I like to use the word influence. Like how much can you control? Right. How much can you influence your behavior?
A lot.
Yeah. Like if you were to put a percentage on it.
100%.
100%. How much can you influence my behavior?
20.
Yeah. So some,
yeah.
But in the spectrum here, like you can influence your behavior 100%. You can influence my behavior 20%. Like whose behavior should you focus on the most? now does that mean that you can't put some attention on taking care of that 20%?
No,
right?
I definitely can. Yeah.
Always, right? And so when we look at things more on a spectrum rather than like black and white, yes or no, it's like how much can I? Then all of a sudden you can start to weight what you focus on. Right? Like how much can I influence whether the government shuts the world down again? You know?
Yeah.
So how much am I going to focus on that? But how can I make sure that if the government does shut something down, that I am in a position that it doesn't freaking matter? Like how much can I influence that? So you start to ask different questions, and then you get
different results.
You get different results, right? So hopefully that inspired you guys today to put your cars on Turo and to get in a tanning bed and to Airbnb some of your properties. Become a landlord, right? Become a landlord. Fun. And so it's so funny because how many times is that like that's the saying that I don't want to be a landlord because I don't want to fix toilets. I don't want to get calls in the middle of the night. Like, does it happen?
It does. It really does.
But it doesn't happen very often.
No.
And is it really that big of a deal when it does happen?
No.
And so that's the part that nobody else tells you the follow-up to is like, it's going to happen. But is it really a big deal? If you make it a big deal.
Yes.
Right? Is it really that much of a pain in the butt for as much? Okay. How much money does a real estate make on average every single month?
Our real estate altogether?
Yeah.
$10,000 to $12,000.
$10,000 to $12,000. It fluctuates based on our Airbnbs, right? And so, do you think it's worth it to occasionally get a random phone call in the middle of the night?
Yes.
Okay, right. And so, ultimately, again, it's asking the next question. I don't want to get tenants calling me in the middle of the night. I don't want to have floods. I don't want to have this and this. Neither do we.
I would rather have floods in the middle of the night by tenants who are calling me than employees calling in sick.
Yeah. Or would you rather have to go to work for 40 hours a week?
No.
Guaranteed every single week
I'd
for
rather-
52 days a week
Yeah, no.
or 52 weeks in a year. Like,
Sign me up for
again,
those nightly calls.
it's all about understanding priorities and what's important. Like our freedom, our time is very important to us. So we structure our businesses, we structure life based on that concept, right? We like to work, but we don't want to have to work, right? We want to work because we want to, not because we're forced to. And that's the beauty of having businesses, having real estate, is you get to choose what you like to do and what you don't want to do. And honestly, it just comes with freedom. And that's really the goal for life, is just having freedom. So, Katie, proud of you.
Thank you.
Really am. And really grateful for you. And
Really
grateful for
you.
these moments, right? But this all happened, 2 hours ago? And we're on here doing this because this is a priority for us.
It is.
Right. And hopefully you guys get value from this. So I think that's all we got for today. My name is Logan Manzanares.
Katie Manzanares.
And we're out.
Bye.
Bye.